There are some doctors in California who are now prescribing marijuana to teens to treat all kinds of disorders, including attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. The letter of the law allows doctors and prescribers to give marijuana for, quote, any illness for which marijuana provides relief. And boy, that could be a long list. Joining me now is Stephen Hinshaw. He is the chair of the psychology department at UC Berkeley, and Robert Jacob, the executive director of Peace in Medicine, a community-based healing center. I want to thank you both for being with me. And I think I'm going to really start with you, Robert, because I love seeing, I was fascinated by what you offer in Sebastopol at the center, including marijuana that has been labeled according to which strength you get, I guess, kryptonite, voodoo daddy, train wreck, and another sign that says, keep out of reach of your mother.
Yes.
Doesn't sound like medicine, but it sounds like a good time.
I think it's all medicine. Strain names of cannabis are designated and created by seed banks, similar to cherry tomato or beefsteak tomato. We just use the names that have been identified by the seed bank.
Well, that's pretty catchy. I don't know if it's good marketing or just catchy or whatever. Stephen, what's your take?
Well, as I was quoted yesterday in the New York Times as saying, this is probably one of the worst ideas of all time. ADHD is a disorder marked by inattention, disorganization, difficulty learning and forming memories. Every study that's ever been done has shown that THC, the active ingredient in marijuana, is a cognitive disorganizer. It makes those functions even worse. So the thought of giving this even to minors, where it just raises a huge set of problems in and of itself, just doesn't make much sense.
And to be fair, let's put side by side one of the most commonly prescribed medications, Ritalin, next to THC, the active ingredient in marijuana. Because as you said, the ability to concentrate is one issue. Ritalin supposedly makes concentration easier, allows a child, an adolescent, to organize thoughts. Marijuana, not knowing for improving concentration nor the ability to sort of focus, and the issues of insomnia, parallel concerns. Stephen, would you, if you look at the benefit of medicinal marijuana versus a prescription drug like Ritalin, can you see an opening where one could be beneficial more than the other?
Well, what we know is that there have been many hundreds of very well-controlled studies of not only Ritalin and methylphenidates, the generic, or all the stimulants. They are evidence-based treatments for this condition. We just don't have that kind of evidence for marijuana. And what's even more alarming is that the studies that have been done that have shown that kids in their early to mid-teen years who start smoking marijuana, if they have other risks like genetic vulnerability, this pushes them on the path towards psychosis and the schizophrenia spectrum. So it doesn't treat the symptoms of ADHD, may make them worse, and it could be quite dangerous. So this is why I'm quite alarmed with this.
And Robert, to that point, it's easy for us all to talk about anecdotes, but a time when we're trying as physicians, scientists, and healers to get our arms around numbers so we can be evidence-based, so we can stand up for what the data shows. When you treat teenagers anecdotally like this, you don't have much science to stand on at all.
That's very true. There isn't much science to stand on because the government has not released cannabis for those scientific studies.
But what are you seeing as science? And are you keeping records on who you're treating and what their outcomes are?
We do not. We are simply, we act similar to a pharmacy. So we take medical cannabis recommendations from primary care physicians and from medical cannabis specialists, and we fill those orders. So
what I'm hearing you say is you allow the medication or the drugs to go out the door, but then nobody's really responsible for gathering the data and getting it back to anyone who's collecting research.
Well, that's the responsibility of physicians, and there's national organizations that work on that, like Americans for Safe Access and MPP.
Big old hole in this idea, I have to say. Stephen Hinshaw, thank you very much. Robert Jacobs, thank you.